Welcome to Your Brand Amplified, the podcast where we interview marketers, publicists, and brands to learn their stories, what makes them tick, and tips and tricks that make a difference. Thank you to my audience for coming back for another episode of Your Brand Amplified. I'm Annika Jackson, and I am here with Jim Padilla from Gain the Edge. Jim, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thanks so much for having me. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about a subject that everybody really needs to understand, but that most people don't understand or know how to execute. Most of the topics on the show, but sales, that's a big one. People get really scared when they hear that word. They all know they need it, but
yeah, it's one of the most interesting responses that you get from people when you talk about sales. When you talk about sales in general, it's the spectrum of responses you can get from people. And it does a lot of things inside of people's minds.
Yeah, exactly. Even like your stomach clenches, you get nervous, you say, I'm not a salesperson. But if you have a product or service, guess what? You are a salesperson. You need to understand how to sell your product or service. And you need to understand how to work with people who can help you do that, which is where you come in.
Yes.
Yeah. So talk about what is your background? What led you to become an expert in sales strategy, live events, all the different things that you bring to the table?
Well, first thing, I don't want to put this on the table while you guys can digest this, everybody listening. You're not just a salesperson if you're an entrepreneur. You're a salesperson if you're a human.
Yeah.
Because we sell all day, every day, to everyone who will listen. Mm-hmm. Whether, that's how you got your spouse to get on board. It's how you get your kids to eat their vegetables at dinner. It's how you get your kids to do their homework before they go play outside. It's how you get your friends to go to Italian instead of Chinese. We sell all day long.
Yeah.
Right. And it's very natural. It's just once we get into a setting where it's required, something weird happens in our brain and we start trying to put this hat on our head that doesn't fit. And we try to become something that we think we're supposed to be instead of just continuing to be ourselves, right? Solving that has blessed us tremendously. I mean, we have a company that's generated $300 million worth of sales for our clients. We do 25,000 sales conversations a year as a company. We do 100 events a year. We've been very, very blessed. We had this title pushed on us that we decided to start wearing as the most loved and well-respected sales experts in the expert space. And, it's because we serve people and build relationships. All this started for me, really. I grew up in an abusive environment. My parents were teenagers when they had me.
Oh, wow.
And my father took off right away, like I guess any smart 17-year-old kid would. And then my mom responded to the tough situation with a lot of rage and anger and fear. Oh. And so I got the brunt end of that. I got abused in many ways that, might be illegal today and put her in jail if it was, 30 years, 40 years later. So I was in foster care as a teenager. I ended up on the streets and gangs at 16 and in jail by 19. And you can imagine what every day would be like when you're literally spending every moment of every day trying to figure out how to read the room and bend influence to your direction, because it was the most effective way to stay alive. So I had to learn how to make everybody my ally so nobody would see me as a threat. And then everybody would trust me. And that was the most effective way for me to move through the world. Little did I know that 20 years later, I'd be making millions of dollars teaching other people how to read the room, influence the room to their direction so that people would see you as an ally and not a threat, and want to listen to you and want to give you their credit card, right? It's amazing the parallels between the two.
Gosh. And the fact of the matter is you could have gone in many different directions because of, the situation that you were in. You could have done so many things that would not have put you where you are today. But instead, you found a solution that took you out of it and helped you gain really a great deal of emotional intelligence.
Yes.
I mean, kudos to you. I had chills when you were just telling that little introduction.
Yeah, thank you. I've done a lot of work. I've come to the place where there's no grudges. I don't have any anger, hatred, resentment for my parents or any, I was in a lot of bad situations, but it was really the best gift that God ever gave me was, that child. It's all that led me to who I am today. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't have been here today. I wouldn't be here as this person if that wasn't all of the obstacles and the learnings and the growth patterns that I had to go through.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So you learned from a very early age how to get people to trust you, to see you as an ally, an advocate, and somebody who'd be helpful to them instead of harmful to them. Where did that take you from there?
It's interesting, one small tweak on that, because anybody who's been in sales for more than a day has heard the term know, like, and trust, right? We're all taught that. And I don't know, somebody somewhere said it first, and a lot of other people thought it was a really great idea. So they've been repeating it. Mm-hmm. I don't know that it's about getting people to trust me. I focus on getting people to trust themselves. And so you don't need to know, like, or trust me. And actually, needing to be liked is the death of a salesperson. Because if you spend your time trying to be liked, then you'll do things, you'll say things to be liked, and you won't typically say things that you need to, like the truth, because the truth often creates friction. And so it's actually the most detrimental thing you can do as a salesperson, because you need to be able to stand in the power of the truth and be able to help people have trust in what they can do as a result of working with you.
Yes.
Right. So I may be splitting hairs and semantics, but to me, I've always laughed at that, because I think so many people repeat it without even thinking about it.
You're the second person today to tell me that they don't like that phrase, don't like and trust. So
it's just fascinating. But, as I moved on, I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. I've been building sales teams my whole life, even from when I was 6 years old. We didn't have a lemonade stand, but we made keychains and crafts, and we would sell them on street corners. And I had people on each corner, and I was going collecting the money and going to the arcade down the street to make change and so we could give people, change with our quarters and all that stuff. And, I used to do homework, do people's book reports in their own voice. So it wasn't like one book report that got copied 50 times. I was literally write in your own voice, and I write with separate. So I never got caught with that stuff, because everything was different and it all worked out that way. So for me, it's always been about, how do I find ways to help you feel valuable as a result of me being in your world, right? Mm-hmm. So, entrepreneur, I had an ADT dealership that, door knocking crews in multiple cities. I was in mortgage in the early 2000s when things were just, you've heard of mailbox money. I called it golf course money, because as long as I was on the golf course, my phone rang, a deal came in, wow. But I didn't have to be good at it. It was just rates were low, property values were high, everybody wanted a mortgage. And so it was pretty easy to do. The problem was, in that vein, is I made a lot of money putting people in loans that they didn't belong in, because I got paid really well to do it. And because I didn't have to really get good at taking care of people, because deals were always coming in. Mm-hmm. I was using my powers of influence, we could say, for evil instead of for good. And I had a deal that put somebody in that I knew wasn't going to last. I knew it was going to capsize on her. And she lost her home, 72-year-old woman. Oh. And I was actually coaching her granddaughter in high school basketball at the time. And I saw her mother at a gas station, and she came to me across the gas station and said, "You are the devil, you're evil, and you deserve whatever comes your way. My mother is living in that car, and she lost the home and everything." And I had nothing to say, because I knew she was right. And at the moment, I was really wishing that I would get run over by a car or something, because I wanted to evaporate from that moment. And she left, and felt like forever. But in that moment, I decided, okay, I've got all these skill sets and all this resource, and I have got to find a way to do this in a manner that serves people instead of serving me. And so I literally, in that day, in that moment, my sales process was changed forever. And I stripped out everything that was taking advantage of people or leaving me feeling bad. And I left in everything that was of service to others and left me feeling good. Mm-hmm. And, that was a whole new way of doing sales for me. And we started going nuts with it. And then 2013, Bill Barron, who was an emerging rock star in the coaching world, he was about ready to do his first $1 million launch. And he didn't want us to come in and train his team. He wanted us to be his team. So I said yes, like a good entrepreneur would. And I had no idea what a launch was. I didn't have any systems, process, strategy for any of this. I got a book on it, a Jeff Walker's launch book, read it in 2 days, hired a dozen of my friends and clients, and said, let's go make a bunch of money selling this product. And 17 days later, we delivered a $1.6 million, crazy, wildly successful train wreck of a launch. And a week later, there was a line at the door. And so for the next 2 years, we made millions of dollars as a launch and events experts. And then people started wanting us to stick around between launches and events. Mm-hmm. So then we started building evergreen sales teams. Then we started building sales teams that stay with the company. Mm-hmm. And, as a fractional company, they hire us. So we provide everything from senior VP of sales all the way down to boots on the ground sales teams. And then we become a strategic sales partner for clients. And our whole objective is to make sure that everybody's making money every day. If you're not making revenue every day, something's wrong. And so how do we fix a system and a process and a strategy so that that is always happening? There's always revenue process, inflow. And it's just become a crazy, wild journey. And, now we're at a place where we're growing our business networks, we're acquiring companies, and we're building what we call powered by Gain the Edge companies. So we help companies scale and we invest in companies, and all of our suite of companies support entrepreneurs on the scaling journey. And so now I don't spend much of my time inside the business, but most of my time above the business, really cultivating how we're structuring business entities and the plans. And it's fun and it's exciting.
Good. I love hearing when people are excited about what they do, right? It's so important to know where your passion and your skill sets intersect. And something that's really important to me that really resonates with what you're saying is also what value are you adding? How are you helping others be better at what they're offering to the world? And so as sales and marketing people, that's so exciting for us to be able to do.
Definitely. And it's a backbone. If you're not making sales, you don't have a business, right? So it's nice to be such a powerful, important part of people's journey.
Yeah. So you mentioned when people are scaling up. So when you work with people at any stage, whether they're just starting out their business, whether they've been in business 5, 10, 15 years, but they realize that they need an overhaul in their processes.
Yeah. It's interesting. I was talking with somebody just a couple of days ago, someone who's auditioning, I'll say, as a mentor for me. Oh. So we had a really good phone call, interesting. And we were talking about the who and the when of avatar work. Everybody talks so much about the very specifics of be super narrow and focused on your niche. We don't have as much of a who as we do a when. It's the entrepreneur, the purpose-based, mission-driven entrepreneur that is moving towards something of exponential status. And so it's usually more about the when, the trigger mechanism. Do they have a company that they want to scale and take public or exit? Are they ready? We bring on somebody right now, even though we don't typically work with newbies. By newbies, we mean somebody who's just trying to figure out business. But there's a lot of people who are leaving corporate, who are jumping into entrepreneur world, and they're extremely successful in life. They just haven't run a business. That's not the same thing as somebody who's just trying to, a brand new beginning, newbie person who's trying to figure it out. Yeah. These people still have a high exponential growth mentality, and they know what it's like to win, lead big teams, show up powerful. And with those people, with the right system, strategy, and process, you can give them exponential growth. And so it's no longer, I don't know how old you are, a little younger than me, but when I first started in business, it cost $4,000 just to get a computer, and it costs money to get a phone line. We used to pay phone bills. I used to have $8,000 a month phone bills back then for long distance, and a website. So it cost you $100,000 to open a business. Now, you can open up a business at a Starbucks and get going. Yeah. So it has never been easier for people to make money, real, tangible money today than it has ever been in the history of the world. And it is powerful. And, we're actually launching an Opportunity Makers brand. I got a podcast that's coming out on that. And we're focused on people who've exited companies. But the main focus and the thrust of the Opportunity Maker movement is that I want to show people that all the problems in the world are just opportunities waiting to happen. And that you don't have to run and from cover. You don't have to protect yourself from what's going on in the marketplace or inflation or recession or whatever terms you want to put on it. It's just the seas of opportunities opening up. And all you have to do is find the problem to solve inside of all those opportunities, and a gold mine awaits. And that's not exaggeration or a joke. That's real right now in the world.
Well, you're inspiring me. Let's go. Let's get this done.
Right?
Yeah. So I think one of the big struggles as an entrepreneur is, even those of us who do marketing and PR for a living as entrepreneurs, have our own businesses, you have a product you want to launch. You're not quite sure because you hear all the noise. You hear people say, okay, have a Facebook group, do this, do that. Some of those things will work for some people, but not all of them will work. And then if you count in everything else you have in life, you have a full-time job. Like for me, I have a full-time job. I also teach 3 classes at USC for graduate students. I have a podcast. I'm a single mom. So I'm trying to juggle all these things. I also do a lot of volunteer work. How do I find the time to have that opportunity to then launch the idea that I have? And how do you help people kind of maybe clear some of that clutter and realize what that opportunity is and how they can impact with it?
Well, one of the things that we do is that we focus on partnering and collaborating with people so that we can scale their ideas. So we take your opportunity and what you're doing, and what are all the things that we can do to bring ancillary support, offer, strategy, structure, team processes, systems. And then we put you on the front, being the face and the voice of the company, but leveraging all of our strategies behind the scenes. And then we just work out an arrangement where we're taking, we get a profit share, a revenue share on the growth and on the upside. But here's one of the biggest distinctions and things that I do differently than most people. The average entrepreneur will say, okay, I'm going to go make a bunch of money. And then when I have profit, I'm going to bring on a team. Well, the only problem with that is that, first of all, you'll never grow as fast by yourself as you can with the team.
Exactly.
Second, you'll get used to making a benchmark of money, which now you're going to have to find a way to part with. Well, we just started another consulting division in our company, and we immediately brought on team to run it. So right out the gates, right off the ground, we're not profitable, but we are in revenue and we're leveraged because other people are doing it. So now the thing that's going to grow the most is the profit margin, because it can grow faster because there's other people running it. And we're in a consult and advise position. So we're doing the things we do best, and we're putting operators in place to do what they do best. And I think people are making a mistake by waiting until you're profitable to do that, because this will make you profitable faster.
Wow. Interesting.
Right. So all you have to do is test the idea that you have out there. And, if you have a product you're launching, the only thing that I caution you against is don't make it about the product. Don't be romantic about your product, because nobody cares about your product. Right. We've all heard the whole story. Nobody goes to Home Depot to buy a drill. They're going to Home Depot because they need a hole, and the drill is going to help them get it. Right. So don't get caught up trying to sell them the right drill. Get really clear on what kind of hole they need it and why.
Got it.
Right. Same thing with your business. And so if we're clear on the idea and the concept for your business, is it viable? Is it provable? How do we test it as fast as possible so that we know it works and that it's desired and there's a market for it and a profitable market that people will pay for it? Then from there, we can start scaling it and adjusting. But too many times we get very romantic about the product, like this is my modality, or this is what I've created, or this is my special branding system, or nobody cares. And so it only matters if it actually works and delivers what everybody else wants.
Got it. Yeah.
Right. And then it's immediately, how fast can we get you to a place where we can leverage you with team or systems so that you're doing the thing that matters the most.
Right.
And you're not trying to build the whole process. And if somebody hires you, they're not hiring you to do everything. They're hiring you to ensure it all gets done.
Yeah. And that's a very important distinction. And that is that you've hit the nail on the head, not to use another construction reference, but for so many entrepreneurs, you're trying to wear all the hats and you're not good at all of the hats. You can't do everything yourself. You're not good at everything. So being able to be put in a position where you're doing what your zone of excellence is and letting other people do what they do best is really important. And it's really hard for people sometimes to wrap their head around because we think of that scarcity mindset.
Totally. And most of that is just, you're doing what comes natural. It doesn't make you bad. It just means that you're human and you've done what everybody's kind of programmed you to do. We're not taught to feel like we are capable of accomplishing everything that we need to do. We're taught to feel like, oh my gosh, if this doesn't work, something's going to bad happen, right? Where things are going to break and then what? So we move through life with a plan B perspective. And the biggest challenge with winning is plan B, because plan B keeps you from going all in on plan A typically, right? And so the more we can dive in and you want to plan for contingencies and be smart about things so that you don't leave yourself with your pants down as the tide rolls out, as Warren Buffett says. But you want to be, what we find is when you are all in and committed on plan A, more often than not, you achieve it.
Nice.
So then plan B isn't necessary.
Yeah.
Right. And then as you grow, then you can start having other opportunities. So the more revenue you make inside your business, then it gives you the ability to serve, contribute, build the things that you want to do. We're in the process where we've done service-based business for so long. It's been 25 years since I've sold a product with my alarm company. And so now we are getting back into the products games. We're opening up some Amazon stores. We're in California now. We moved to Nashville for a couple of years. My wife loves her wine. She's a wine connoisseur along with my daughters now. She's led them all down that path. They love it. It's a great hobby. It's a great social thing. It's just something they do together. Well, when we moved to Nashville, she was very frustrated because there weren't a lot of good wines there.
Oh,
and she's like, people need California wines here. So we're like, well, what if we open up a tasting room here and import California wines? Right. But then our daughters started having kids. And so we just moved back to California. But as luck would have it, we met somebody 2 weeks ago while we were out wine tasting, a local maker here who was thinking something similar there. He's got an extra license that we can leverage. And so now we're going to meet next month and we're going to put this plan into action. We are going to open a California wines tasting room in Nashville.
Amazing.
Right. These are things you can do when you have revenue and you have team, you have leverage systems, and you're not spending all of your time turning every screw and hammering every nail because other people are. So it gives you the opportunity to be as creative and leverage as you can. And this is all about, again, the opportunity maker brand. Like all this does is create more opportunity for more people. And when we're all doing that, we entrepreneurs are going to change the world, change the landscape. Our government isn't going to save us.
Mhm.
Or, Wall Street and corporate America is not going to save us.
Yeah.
It's you. Nobody's coming to save you. You got to be the opportunity maker. You have to open the door to find ways to serve the people around you in a manner that allows them to win, allows you to be profitable, and put you in a position to serve the world around you.
Yeah, I love that. You're preaching to the choir here. I had a question about events, 6, 7-figure events. I've heard some people say events are still relevant. I've heard other people say events are dead. It's not the same model. People aren't buying from events, but you have an amazing track record with them. So I'd love to hear your perspective and what makes the difference between an event that's going to be successful and it's not going to be successful.
Yeah. I don't know what other people are experiencing. One thing that I do see a lot is people get very, very caught up in absolutes. And one thing I have learned in entrepreneurship, there's no such thing as an absolute. If something's not working, it's only not working for you in that moment, in that situation with those criteria. It doesn't mean it doesn't work. And same thing working. Like if it does work, it means that it does work in these conditions with this criteria under these circumstances. And if you can replicate them, then you can win. So that's all we're always looking at. What were the circumstances that created this win and how do we replicate them? How do we reproduce the things that worked? How do we eliminate the things that didn't and continue to build? So, in the event space, I've been doing events my whole life. When I had my alarm company, we did home shows, we did expos. It was a blast. It was probably the favorite thing I've done in all my business career, doing home shows with alarm companies when we'd have such a blast, put on a dog and pony show and just have a good time. Everybody would come to our booth and then we would provide overflow for the rest of the people who are in our area because we would create the opportunities for them to go. Like we were at a home show one time and there was a whole house fan company just down the road and there was a garage door fan over here and a roofing company. And they would get mad because we would just kind of suck up all the traffic and we would have 20, 30 people at our booth all the time. And we told them, I said, look, just tell me what you do. Tell me how you do it. Let's build some relationship because what I'm going to do is make sure that as soon as they get done with this, we're going to make sure we sell them your whole house fan and we're going to sell them your garage door and we're going to sell them your patio set. So the best thing that ever happened to you was having us in your neighborhood. Right. And that's how we should all be working anyway. Yeah. That's how I build businesses. That's how we build events. We're doing events. Like, what is the piece of the event that we need to deliver? And, as long as you have a crystal clear formula for understanding what somebody has to walk away with in order for this to be a win, and then what's the problem they need to solve right before it, you build an event around solving that problem for that person so that they go, wow, this was amazing. I got my walkaway deliverable, but that problem opens up something new, right? Like as an example, we have a workshop coming up next week. We're doing it's a compelling and converting offers workshop. The whole concept is we're going to help them walk through, use all the components you need to deliver a great offer. And if you want us to help build it, you now have a solution that you just showed up for the workshop for, and you now have a new problem. Now that I know how to do it, how am I going to do it? I have the steps, but I know I got to build it. So then we're going to invite them to private strategic days where our team will help construct their offer, or they come in as a group for a smaller price and we'll leverage that. And then once they have that offer, well, they've solved that problem. And then they now have a new problem, which is where am I going to implement this offer? Where am I going to execute it? So then we have a membership process that we sell them into where we can help them get in front of all the right clients and get coaching ongoing so that they're consistently making offers and fine tuning, right? But everything solves a problem and opens up a new problem.
Got it.
Right. So you want to build events with that in mind. And I will tell you this, doesn't matter what environment, what vertical, what business, what industry, what niche, everybody can make money at events. If you haven't made money at events, it's just because you haven't found the right formula. I promise you. Got it. Give me an hour. We'll figure it out.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are going to be giving you a call after this episode, including myself.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that it does, and everything that we've been talking about so far, it really lends itself to putting you in a position to, number one, like I said, make revenue every day. Then we don't want people to be a victim of their circumstance. And that's what's happening a lot in the world today is people are afraid of what's going on. And if you have the tools to be able to sell effectively in any place, then you can sell anywhere. And it doesn't matter what the circumstances are, what the economy is, how expensive gas is, what real estate prices are. It doesn't matter because you are worthy and valuable to the people who need you. And I can tell you this, no matter what's going on, all the same amount of money is moving. People are buying every day. They're just not buying from you. And that means it's solvable. Right. And so you don't worry that people don't have money. You just got to find out how to position yourself in front of the people who do, and they will invest. Because when people invest in treacherous times, they're much more committed and serious in the solution, which means you got to come packing. So you don't bring your B-level program. You bring the best program that you've got, the best solution that you can bear, and then you deliver like mad because people want it. They will pay for it. They're not looking for cheap. They're looking for valuable. And you got to have a quality system and a process and an offer that people cannot cannot refuse, and they won't.
This is all very intriguing, and it's all information that we need. And I keep saying this, but myself included, I'm like, I need to learn your system. I need to come to your workshops and get all this information. So you have monthly workshops and different events happening all the time.
Right.
And are they free? Are they paid? A little bit of both?
Yeah, we're always testing different solutions. So, like this workshop we're doing next Friday is like $33. We just did one that was a $5,000 3-day event to help build people's events. Wow. And then, of course, from that, they hired us to help execute their event. Yeah. But it's all about just making sure that you are delivering the thing that people need. Yeah. And there's always a way to position that, because everybody here has incredible solutions. You have something that people need. More often than not, it's just not packaged very clearly or very compelling. So people don't know they really need it. Right. Yeah. And it's not about shifting the offer. It's about presenting it in a manner that makes people say, I have to have it.
I love that.
Yeah.
What else would you like to share? Do you have any examples that you can share of somebody you worked with that you completely revolutionized their sales process and they went from zero to hero?
Yeah, well, we're very blessed and we do a lot. We've helped so many people at different levels. Joanne comes to mind, who's actually one of our avatars for our 6-figure client. And, she came to us with a desire to have that elusive $10,000 a month that everybody's always trying to work towards. And we were able to solve that pretty quickly by getting her just really clear and confident and certain in what she does and that people actually need it and will invest in it. And then surrounding her with some great systems and support. And, now short period of time, she was having 20K months and more. And now, she's had $90,000 months, et cetera. And now 10,000 is the absolute floor. I mean, before that was the goal. Now that's just the floor. On a bad month, she's going to make that happen. And so she's not looking to be a world dominator, but she's got a very successful multi-6-figure business that she'll never have to worry about starving. She'll never have to worry about where business is coming from because she's always relevant. And then on the other side, we work with people like Claire Zammit, who's a very successful multi-million-dollar business owner when she came to us, but she had 6K and 12K offers that were selling, but we just revamped it, wrapped a system around it, and put her in a place where things were able to be sold more systematically and more cleanly and simply. And then we had a 14K and a 20K offer that sold more units than the 6 and 12K offers that she was selling before. Wow. Just because they were clearly and compellingly positioned in front of the right buyers at the right time. And, now she's doing amazing things in the world, and she always has, and she was going to win without us. But it's just, you want to be able to win more effectively, collapse time frames so you can do it faster and with the least amount of heartache. Nobody's going to give you a problem-free, trouble-free ride through business or life, but the fewer the bumps that you can have to overcome, the better, right? If you can go through and just hitting a few speed bumps or a few potholes, that's a whole lot better than running into brick walls all the time.
Yeah, 100%. Now, do you ever have somebody come to you and you refuse them as a client because you either energetically, they don't seem like they're the right kind of person that you want to work with, or you don't think that what they're offering has that value? Or
yeah, for us, the first part is if you desire to control every part of the process, we can't work with you. It just doesn't work for us. And there's a lot of people who do, and I got zero issues with it. You just got to know that, you're not suited to outsource any solutions, right? So if you need to control the whole process, then you need to make sure that you're building a team internally and then, making sure that you have all the say. You also want to make sure that, for us, it's got to be somebody who is pretty collaborative and who has the ability and the risk tolerance to make some mistakes, because as we're growing, the idea is you're always coming into a new level, and they say new level, new devil, right? So, when you're at a new level of success or you've taken a product or a venture to a place you haven't been before, well, guess what? By definition, that means the next thing you're going to do, you're kind of guessing. So that means you got to have room for error. So you got to have your books in place. You got to be willing to learn and willing to grow and save and be able to take direction, because, we've scaled companies so fast that we've almost broken them.
Oh my gosh.
And that's dangerous. That's not good either, right? So you want to make sure that people have revenue in the bank, that they got resources so that they can reinforce and add tech and add team and do those things that they need to. But they have to be able to do it in a manner that they can trust themselves to make these decisions. Because a lot of times you just get on autopilot. And, when we're working with us, it's like, yeah, we're sales specialists and that's our lane, but we can't grow your business unless we're helping you be smarter with your money, smarter with your revenue, building the right team, the right structures, right support. So you literally get everything that comes comes with it, not just our sales acumen, but you get the understanding, you're working with the multi-million-dollar company who has done pushing $500 million worth of sales. There's a lot of things we've learned about business and life that comes with the process. Just like with you, with all the branding and all the things that you do, it's not just the X's and O's that you bring. It's all of the expertise that you bring from life. When somebody works with you, they get all of that as well.
Right.
Right. And I want people to really think about that when they invest in support and strategy. It's, don't just go, oh, this guy's got a really cool system, or this person has a really cool app. Just think about their journey. And when you hire a company, you typically get the benefit of their entire journey.
Right. Exactly.
Right. So choose that stuff wisely and then be on point with mission and purpose. Right. Because one of the things that we're doing right now is we're in the process of, putting out, we want to build call centers in downtown cities and urban areas where prisons are, because of where I started. I have a very strong affinity for helping men and pouring into men. And I believe that one of the biggest challenges in our society today is a byproduct of the American male who's gone soft. And I put myself in that bucket where the American male as a species just needs to get stronger, more present, more vocal, take more actions, do more of the right things. And what we're doing is inside of prisons, do prison ministry. I've been a chaplain at Folsom Prison, and we go in and inmates have what they call programming. So when they're inside, they do all the stuff that they do, their jobs, but then they have Bible counseling, they have financial planning, they have family planning, they have drug rehab and insight, and they get a lot of programming, which is what helps restore them as men. And then they get outside and they got a halfway house and a bus ticket.
Yeah.
Right. And they got none of that. And so 76% of men attrit and go back in and resit. And that there's no reason for that. That is avoidable. I have a mission to eliminate their citizen rate. Men can come out and they can be served and get all of the same support. Then they can win. And so what we want to do is build these call centers, and the process of that, when they show up, we will train them to be sales people. So they'll make money. They'll have a purpose because they'll be serving somebody else's business. So they won't need to go out and find money illegally. They won't need to join gangs because they're going to have their own purpose. Then we want to surround them they're going to be surrounded with other people like themselves. So they're not going to stick out like a sore thumb being the only ex-con at some place of employment. And then we're going to surround them with programming so that if they work in the call centers, then 1 hour a day, they'll have programming. So they'll be able to get Bible planning. They'll be able to get family planning, financial support. They'll have drug diversion and all the things that they had on the inside so that they can be supported on the outside. And our mission is to turn them into opportunity makers that they can create opportunities for themselves and for others. And we win them back over and turn them into contributing members of society so they don't have to go back into prisons. The only people who keep in prison are the ones who have no interest in getting better. They're just doing time. And there are plenty of them. But the ones who want to get out, we want to make sure they stay out. Right.
They just need somebody to believe in them and somebody to give them that love and that support that they haven't had.
Yeah. And treat them like a human. You'd be amazed at how people will act when you treat them the way that you want them to be.
Amazing. Wow. That's so beautiful. And I can't wait to hear more about your journey as it unfolds, because it sounds like you're adding a lot of new businesses, a lot of new things, a lot of new services, a lot of new good into the world.
Yes, that's the mission, man. God willing, we don't do it all perfectly, and, we make a lot of mistakes along the way, but it's just, God is good and God's been the director of all of this. And we're just trying to be good stewards with his business and his opportunities.
That's beautiful. Jim, thank you so much for being here today, sharing a little bit about sales process and your journey and story. Is there any last thing that you want to share with our audience today?
Just know that what you do matters and you deserve to be paid well for it. So take the initiative, look yourself in the mirror and say, you've got this, and then reach out to people who can help you get it done. There's no reason at all, no excuse. The only people who aren't going to win in business today are the people who've chosen not to.
And do you have a favorite quote or mantra or verse that you would like to share with us?
Yeah. David Starr Jordan says that the world stands aside and lets pass any man who clearly knows where he is going. And if you ever been at a party or someplace and you just kind of see the room part because somebody's just walking on purpose, they know where they're going. You know the difference when somebody's walking with some intention versus somebody who's just meandering, right? We travel a lot. So I'm at the airport and I get off the plane. I want to go to baggage. And you always get stuck behind somebody who's just meandering. I'm like, no. You all got to move because I got somewhere to get. And just know that when you're on fire and intention, the world watches and people want to participate because most people are not. Most people are very unaware and most people don't have a real strong grasp of where they're going next. And they want someone to follow, someone to lean on, and you need to be that person.
Well, I don't think I could end this conversation on a higher, more positive note. So, Jim, thank you so much for being with us today.
Absolutely. An honor, privilege. Thanks for trusting me to be part of your success team.
Absolutely. And I will have all of your links in the show notes. For our audience, thank you to our audience for another great episode, coming back and listening or watching on YouTube with Jim Padilla of Gain the Edge. Again, I will have all of this information for Jim and his wife's company in the show notes for you to peruse. And I'll be back again in a few days with another amazing expert guest. Want more? Check out amplifywithannika.com or follow me on socials at amplifywithannika.